Why do you feel you're being called to be a missionary, Camille?
We have felt called as a couple for about 5 years. I know the calling on my life was when I was a little boy, and growing up and going to college and having been married to Camille and having kids. The call just stirred in my heart until God called Camille. And then that was actually in California. And she told me that she wanted to be a missionary for a couple of years, short-term mission. We moved to Texas about 5 years ago, and over the last year, the incidents where God has called us and given us conversations or dreams or insights, those instances have become closer and closer together. And at one point, Camille looked at me and says, "Just tell me when and we'll go." And that was the time when we both knew that God was calling us to the field. And we're looking forward to going.
You have 5 children, is that right?
Yes, we do have 5 children. Right now, they're ages 10 is the oldest, and 2 is the youngest. And they'll be coming with us, of course.
What will they do about schooling?
Well, Camille has been homeschooling our children successfully for 3 years, and she will likely continue to homeschool our children. There's a chance, though, that when we get to the field, the Lord may put it on our hearts to put them in public school, and we may do that. We want our children to engage in the community. We want them to be a part of the community, and they may end up going to school in Mexico. But at this point, we plan on homeschooling, and usually homeschooling, the work day, the school day can end about 12 o'clock if the kids are on task, and they can use that extra time to minister to people and engage in the community.
How did you choose the country of Mexico?
World Indigenous Missions, which is the agency that we're going with, they have quite a few missionary trainers in Central America, Mexico. They have quite a few missionaries. So we actually have an opportunity to train with a senior missionary trainer down there. And so we believe that there is a need in Mexico, that God is working in Mexico. And so we're going to go down primarily to train for 2 years with a senior missionary trainer. It may be that God continues to call us to Mexico at that point if we stay down there. It may be that He calls us to other parts of the globe. We're not sure. The Bible says in Matthew 24:14, "And this gospel of the kingdom will be preached in the whole world as a testimony to all the nations, and then the end will come." And it may be that we are called to Mexico permanently, but we know this. We want to be missionaries. We want to be successful cross-cultural missionaries. And some of the finest trainers are actually in Mexico. It's an amazing statistic that 75% of missionaries that go out to the foreign field don't complete their first term. So we want to be out there and be available to the Lord for His work. And one of those things is to make sure that we have good mentorship and good training. And that's why we'll be going to Mexico, because there's some outstanding training and support in that country.
Will you be paid then by World Indigenous Missions, or how will you get your salary?
We won't be paid necessarily by World Indigenous Missions. The work that the Lord is doing in Mexico is what we want to be a part of. But the work happens not just because we decide to go and do some work, but the work happens because there are people around this country and around the world who decide to support our family and at the same time be a part of the work in Mexico. Because we're not necessarily going down primarily to minister to the people of Mexico. We are going to be ministering to the people who support us, because we get the opportunity to let them know that their engagement in us and in the community of Mexico is reaping harvest. So it'll likely be that people will want and feel a call to missions, but they may not be able to go at this time, and yet they want to support in some way. So they'll have financial contributions to our family. Those contributions, however, will go directly to World Indigenous Missions, and 10% of their monies will stay with World Indigenous Missions, because World Indigenous Missions offers member care, support in the U.S., so that when there are tough times on the field, they can do things like Skype with you. They can actually come out and do a visit on the field, because they want their missionaries to be successful on the field and continue the work that the Lord has done. So to answer your question, no, we won't be paid by World Indigenous Missions, but we will be supported by people around the nation, around the globe who desire to see the work of Mexico be completed through our family, and so they can offer financial support.
Do you already speak Spanish, and have you already been down to where you're going to be going? Have you made a visit?
Yes, we did. We made a visit in April. We decided to make a field visit down to Mexico. We went to the city of Cuernavaca, which is south of Mexico City, about 2 hours. It's a population of about 500,000 to a million, depending on the season. It's a tourist spot in a sense, but there's a lot of need in that city as well. So we went down there primarily to meet our senior missionary trainer, Andrew Conrad, developed a rapport with him, and feel that God is leading us to work with him as a senior missionary trainer because he has a heart to see people be successful as cross-cultural missionaries in whatever fashion that may look like. I'm a pediatric physical therapist. He's not a physical therapist. He knows very little about the medical profession from the standpoint of being a clinician. However, he knows that I might have a gift with the children in providing those medical services. So he is there to see me not only be a successful cross-cultural missionary, but to see what relationships he can help me make so that I can use my skills in Mexico. And we went down there to explore those opportunities. What are the opportunities in Mexico? And what is the relationship between ourselves and Andrew Conrad going to look like? In fact, we had one opportunity to go to an orphanage, and it was a really neat opportunity to see our family engage as an entire family, all seven of us, with those kids in the orphanage. It was a very special time for us as a family, and it was neat to see our kids actually engage with the community. We feel that we're called to Mexico, and specifically in the area of children's ministry. And I would like to see the indigenous churches begin to work together and to take kids from the orphanages and put them in homes so that they aren't dropped off at 8 years old. Children need supportive families. And so it might be that once we finish language school, which will be the first 8 months of our assignment, we might directly go into working with orphans and at the same time investigating opportunities to use my clinical skills as a physical therapist. So, we're not sure exactly what it's going to look like, but Abraham didn't know exactly what his life was going to look like when the Lord called him, but he clearly knew, and we clearly know as well.